Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. It is Sunday, August 23rd. That's Aram Layton. I am Peter Apple. Aram, get those damn fingers ready because it's time for the weekend Roundup, where we recap every game that was over the past weekend with plenty of takeaways, and it's all brought to you by BetMGM. Crack. That's the sound of the bat hitting the baseball and a reward being dropped into your account. Take a swing each day in BetMGM's free-to-play game. If you get a hit, you'll score a reward, depending on whether your hit was a single, a double, triple, or home run. And a reminder, this game is exclusively available at BetMGM. Here's how it works. So you play as the batter, and you select an area of the strike zone. Step number 2, if you get a hit, you win a prize. You could win a $50 bonus bet, an odds boost token, a parlay boost token, or a same game parlay boost token. And if this is your first pick on BetMGM, remember to use promo code JUSTBASEBALL, because if your first pick were to lose, you get it all back in bonus bets up to $1,500. Aram, we got hot teams, we got cold teams, and somebody's going to win the American League West. I tweeted out earlier, whoever kind of wants it gets the American League West. We got the Rangers and the Astros tied at the top at 65 and 66. The Mariners have clawed their way back just to lose 19-2 to the freaking Chicago Cubs. The Royals have won 8 straight. The Phillies have won 9 straight. We're going to break it all down. A wild weekend of baseball on Players Weekend, which I think is cool.
I think it's cool.
Yeah,
I think it's cool. You learn a lot about guys and what they're into. Sometimes it's some unique stuff that you'd have no idea, or sometimes it's kind of like what you would expect. So I think it's fun. It's funny though how like no rules for a weekend. You can do whatever you want with your equipment, then it's right back to like rules with the equipment. But I think that's what makes it cool.
No, it does make it cool. The only reason I wasn't, full bore excited for Players Weekend is that we're going to get the 15th post by MLB or their affiliates about Jacob Mizorowski ripping Pokemon cards.
Oh,
it's almost like, I get it. The guy likes Pokemon. Can we watch him throw 105? I think that's a little bit cooler.
Yeah, that is. I do have enough. I think I've had enough of the Mizorowski Pokemon thing. He's really athletic, but he also likes this thing that's semi-nerdy. Oh my goodness!
Wow!
Whoa.
Wow, he's a nerd. We should tell everyone quickly. Let's tell everyone quickly about Nationals versus Marlins. We're going to recap all 15 series here like we always do every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, live here on YouTube. Thank you to everybody joining us. The best way to support these live streams, smash the like button and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us after the fact on audio, a 5-star review would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Aram, floor is yours.
All right, let's go. We got Nats Marlins, as you mentioned. And game 1 was a bit of a pitcher's duel. The Marlins were limited to 1 hit through 7 innings by Brad Lord, Will Dion, and Orlando Rebalta. But Javier Sanoja tied the game with a single, and Otto Lopez gave the Fish the lead in the 8th. But after Keibert Ruiz opened the scoring with a solo homer, Dalen Lyle tied it with an RBI single against Pete Fairbanks in the top of the 9th. But in the bottom of the 9th, Javier Sanoja walked it off with an RBI single up the middle for his first career walk-off knock. Marlins win 3-2. You go to game 2, another lower scoring contest. Otto Lopez opened it up with a 2-run single in the bottom of the 1st, and Alberto Hernandez and Jacob Marcy also added solo homers in the 2nd and 4th. But Yuri Perez kept the Nationals in check, working through 5 innings of 1 earned run ball to lower his season ERA to 3.17. Then Peterson, Eknes, Zuber, and Fauché combined for 4 perfect innings in relief. The Marlins are able to hold on for a 4-2 victory. Then you go to game 3 on Sunday. Alberto Hernandez and Dylan Cruz swapped RBI doubles early, but Xavier Edwards had a 2 RBI single. Joe Mack had a pinch hit RBI double, and Jack Ralston in his MLB debut fired off 2 scoreless innings in relief. 9th series sweep for the Marlins as they win 6-2. It's tied for the 2nd most in MLB. They improved to 41 and 25 at home this year, which is absolutely ridiculous because they've been good this year, but like at home, for whatever reason, they're as good as anybody. They're one of 4 teams with 40 wins at home, joining Tampa, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. Obviously, the flip would be, well, they're not playing that great on the road. No, they're not. But the Marlins at home are a tough team to beat, and they pull off the sweep. I do want to note one thing from the 3rd game. Jacob Young made one of the best catches I've ever seen in my life. For those watching on YouTube, they can see it. It's kind of like a chain link fence. It's probably not the right word, but it's kind of like a fence type of thing in front of the wall in center field. So your cleat can kind of dig into it. And it's like 15, maybe it looks like it's 20 feet high. I don't know how tall that wall is, the PNC Bank wall, like right in front of, like I would say right into left center there. He used that to like catapult himself up like Spider-Man. I think he got like 6 feet off the ground and jumped and caught this ball. It's something you see in a video game that you just don't think is possible. I mean, Jacob Young legitimately scaled the wall to make that catch.
And not to mention, he got a double play out of it. Now, just to go back to what you were saying about the Marlins, their home record 41-25, on the road 26-39. But you add them all up, and they're 67-64, winners of 3 straight games. And they do have a better run differential than both the Diamondbacks and the Padres. However, for that third and final wild card spot, they are still 4 behind the San Diego Padres and 2 behind the Arizona Diamondbacks. And as soon as the Marlins start playing poorly, then they start playing better again. And I feel like on every roundup, they're in that weird gray area where Marlins fans shouldn't be expecting playoffs, but at the same time, they certainly should not lose hope. You already mentioned, Yuri Perez has been on an absolute heater lately, but how about the way Jacob Marcy has been playing? Your guy, Griffin Conine, Javier Sanoja has been putting up excellent ABs. So as Otto Lopez starts to decline a little bit, even though he had a nice series, other guys are starting to really hit their stride offensively, and you're still getting solid pitching performances. Aram, we're nearing the end of August, and the Marlins are clearly in the playoff hunt. If the Marlins were in the American League, we'd be talking about the World Series odds.
Yeah, they'd be what? They'd have like a 3-game cushion. It would be ridiculous.
They would have a 2.5 game cushion over the third wild card spot in the American League.
It's
or
crazy.
If they were in the American League West, they'd be leading the division by 3 games.
It's crazy because they're playing really good ball, and they really haven't been able to make up much ground. They've been able to, leapfrog the Cardinals over the weekend and maybe separate them from St. Louis a little bit. Now you could start to see potentially this week, the rest of the teams kind of fade behind, right? The Pirates, now the Reds are fading out of it as well. And then that's where you really start to zero in on it. It's like, okay, it's the 3 wildcard teams, then maybe 2 that are hanging in there. And the Marlins, I think, going into this week at a tough series against the Red Sox, could fracture off into that Cardinals direction, or could hang on closer to the D-backs direction and try to be on the heels of the Padres. I think with the way that they just played in the series, obviously very much sends them, more towards that Diamondbacks direction and on the Padres' heels. But the problem is, we're going to talk about these other teams, is like the Padres are as hot as anybody in baseball. And the only team maybe hotter than them is the team ahead of them in the Phillies that just had an incredible comeback that we'll talk about. And they've won 9 in a row. So it's really hard to make up any ground right now in the National League. And that's the toughest part. Obviously, these teams can't keep this up like this forever, but the Marlins are going to have to continue to play at a pretty ridiculous pace, at least when you have a frustrating series in Philly, to bounce right back, sweep at home, and put yourself in a decent position here to still hang around. I think the Marlins offense is picking up. I think Otto Lopez was playing through a finger issue that I really think was affecting him. I think Xavier Edwards was dealing with a little bit, some bumps and bruises. I think both those guys are playing better again now with all the complementary pieces picking it up too. I do think the offense is going to play pretty well down the stretch. I'm just interested to see how the pitching holds up. But again, they're bringing up some young relievers that look pretty electric. And we'll see if they can get Max Meyer back. But good series from the Marlins overall, and just again keeping themselves alive, which is all you can ask.
It just stinks that we have to go from talking about hot teams, playoffs, to Astros A's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a fun series. And do you have anything on the Nats? It's like they're banged up, and no James Wood. Like they trade Foster Griffin. Like it was always going to end this way, kind of, unfortunately.
I got to be honest. I think on the last weekend roundup, the Nationals came in on a tough series, and I was kind of waving the white flag for them. With James Wood banged up, the offense isn't nearly as scary, and they just don't have the pitching reinforcements to battle against that. And now the Marlins have won 8 straight against the Nationals. This just felt like, they're slowly falling into quicksand, and right now it's near the neck. Their head is still above, and they're still breathing, but it won't be long.
Yeah, they need James Wood back. And again, I mean, they've got their eyes on the next season as well. We go to the Athletics and Houston here. Game 1. Jordan was the star of the show offensively. He went 2 for 3 with a pair of RBI doubles. Paredes and Walker added RBIs as well. Hayden Wesneski worked 5 innings of 1-hit shutout ball. and the Astros bullpen finished 4 scoreless, 4-0 victory for the Astros there. You go to game 2, and the Athletics bounce back. Donovan Walton homered to open up the scoring for the A's against Hunter Brown, but Houston stacked the next 3, including a 7th inning homer for Dalton Varsho for his first as an Astro at Dyken Park. But the A's had a 3-run top of the 8th in them and a wild pitch RBI ground out and RBI single from Lawrence Butler. Jacob Lopez worked 6 innings of 1-run ball for the Athletics, while Hunter Brown went 5 2/3 innings of 1-run ball. The Athletics squeeze it out. They win 4-3. And then you go to game 3, the rubber match, and this was a back and forth kind of game. A 6-run 5th was the dagger, though, for the A's offense, highlighted by a 3-run home run by Brian Servin against Christian Javier. That was the big blemish on Javier's day, who did punch out 8 and 4+ innings. Altuve and Paredes homered for Houston, but Max Muncy connected on the eventual difference with a solo shot in the 7th. And you also just had Tommy Tanks with a 2-run single as well. That helped the Athletics propel to a 7-6 win, and the Astros lose the series against the A's.
Yes, and I was closely watching Sunday's game, and the A's intentionally walked Yordan twice. And I feel like from watching Astros baseball, man, Yordan Alvarez is getting intentionally walked a lot. That was his 27th intentional walk. Remember, it's August 23rd today. And to put that in perspective, Aaron Judge had 36 last year, which of course is more, but there is plenty of time still left on the season. But the 27 that Yordan has now is just 2 away from Goldschmidt back in 2015 when he had 29. So 27 is just kind of getting torn down by Judge's 36. But really, if you look at the last decade, Yordan is number 2. So why do I bring that up? There's clearly a way to face the Houston Astros at this point. Do not pitch to Yordan Alvarez. Yeah. It's clear because he's going for the Triple Crown. But what concerns me is what's behind Yordan Alvarez, and an even bigger reason why you shouldn't pitch to Yordan. You get to Isaac Paredes, who's a fine hitter, right? In the month of August, he's got a 117 WRC plus. He even hit a home run right after Yordan got intentionally walked. But you're not terrified of Paredes. And then you go down the line, right? Who's up next in the order? Is it Christian Walker? Is it Altuve? Is it Dalton Varsho? I mean, you combine their August numbers and they're below a 100 WRC plus. Jeremy Pena in front of him is a great hitter. It's still a good Astros lineup, but the game plan is clear. You want to beat the Astros, beat up on their pitching, and don't pitch to Yordan Alvarez. Yeah. And the Astros now fall under 500.
It's a great point because, I mean, you think about a playoff series too. If they get there, like Jordan's not going to see shit, so it's going to be on the other guys to come through, and maybe they can. But like also, you think about it, like Isaac Paredes on the road, not going to be as good. I like Isaac to provide some protection, but again, like if it's not him, then it really tapers off, and you really don't have a lot of trust in whoever else. So yeah, why would you pitch to Yordan Alvarez? I think this is going to be the beginning of seeing him walk a ton, whether it's intentional or just, the unintentional intentional, where they're just going to throw him nothing to hit. And it's going to be tough. I mean, one of his big swings was a pitch well off the plate. Like, I think he's going to start hunting pitches off the plate and doing damage on those because he's just so good. But it is something that I think is going to be restrictive for this Astros team. I mean, dude, the Athletics are just, I want to give them credit. Like a lot of guys that are kind of journeyman that are finding, or young players that are finding their way into this lineup and taking advantage of the opportunity. But this is a very weak baseball team at this stage with what they have. And, to lose 2 out of 3 there at home, when again, you're in position here to try to create a little bit of space in the division, it's tough for the Astros. And it's just the reality is that none of these teams in the AL West are very good. They have their moments, but they're all pretty darn flawed. And I think we just see that by the time we circle back for every weekend roundup.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We just keep talking about the same thing. Whoever kind of wants it is going to win this American League West. And Podcast P put in our private chat, I actually undersold Jordan. He walked 3 times intentionally.
He was intentionally walked 3 times.
He's up to 28. I only said it was 2. But point stands, right? Because an intentional walk is another thing. That's why Jose Ramirez, throughout the years where the Guardians offense was struggling a lot, he routinely led Major League Baseball in intentional walks. Because Jose Ramirez is awesome, but at the same time, why would you pitch to him? And the Astros offense is kind of falling into that. Now, the Astros can get real dangerous if guys like Dalton Varsho, if guys like Christian Walker, if Isak Paredes really start hitting, because then you're just putting on an additional base runner. But the Astros lineup is at the point where if anyone is on base, especially with runners in scoring position and first base is open, Jordan is getting 4. Yeah. Just go to first base, and we're not going to deal with it. Yeah. Also, Peyton, do you want me to read aloud this comment? It was kind of interesting that you put it into the private chat. Also, why WRC Plus is annoying for elite hitters. WRC Plus removed intentional walks, so his OPS Plus is like 11% higher.
That's crazy.
WRC Plus. That's actually that's important. There's no reason why intentional walks should be removed. Intentional walks is the ultimate sign of respect towards a hitter. You're not going to count it.
I think the argument would be like, well, it's like a random, sometimes circumstantial thing. Otherwise, and as Peyton just said that too. But my point is like, if it's circumstantial, it'll be so few and far between. Like if Brian Serven gets intentionally walked because it loads the bases in the bottom of the 13th with the winning run about to come across, like that's not going to affect the bottom line as much as a guy that's getting intentionally walked all the time. That should probably be valued a little bit more, and it's going to disproportionately affect him. So I think that is really interesting.
But also,
and a good catch.
Also, at the same time, if Brian Serven gets intentionally walked, give him the bump.
Yeah, he deserves.
I don't care if it's circumstantial. Those guys deserve just like a little. Give him a point. What?
That's my point. It'll be such a small adjustment to the slash line for the guys that it is circumstantial for that it shouldn't matter, and the guys that actually it does matter for because it's happening so much, it should count. So Absolutely. That is an interesting conversation. I would love to hear the devil's advocate on that.
So going back, that's the problem with the Astros is that their lineup is kind of two-dimensional in a way because Jeremy Pena is freaking awesome at the front, right? He's the one getting on second to start the inning, which is why Jordan Alvarez is getting intentionally walked. And then the Astros just don't have the pitching to back it. That's why you just give up 7 to the A's after Christian Javier struggles. And like Kai Wei Tang is coming in and it's just, we're waiting for Josh Hader to come in. It's just, but then again, they still might win the division.
Yep.
Right. It is what it is. But the A's, it's a tough season, a lot of injuries, but they beat the Astros. How about
it? See what you got with some of the young guys, Hope Bolte and some of these other players, take advantage of the reps and maybe get some pieces for next year. Hayden Wozniacki with his start too for the Astros. Like if you can build on that, obviously that would be huge help for them with the way that he threw. We go to the Mets versus the White Sox in Chicago. And game 1 was a really fun one. It was kind of the Jake Rogers show in a lot of ways. The Mets jumped out to a 4-0 lead through the first half of the ball game, highlighted by a 2-run double from Brett Beatty and a solo shot from Bo Bichette. But 3 homers in the 6th for the White Sox from Miguel Vargas, Randall Grichuk, and Colson Montgomery, knotted the game at 4. And Jake Rogers ended up clubbing the walk-off home run for the White Sox in the bottom of the 9th. Emma Rodriguez was a fan that caught the ball and was jumping up and down like crazy. It was so much like fun to see the excitement from the fans. But as she was jumping up and down, she lost all of the belongings in her purse. I don't know where they fell, but they looked like they flew everywhere. Rogers ended up swapping the ball for a bat and a photo later in the weekend. And she had mentioned that she was able to recover all of the belongings in her bag. But that was a really funny wrinkle in that. Also, Rogers has played for 4 teams in the last month. That's an MLB record. You go to game 2, 10-5 Mets. They piled up 16 hits with a 3-run third and a 3-run 5th and 2 more in the top of the 9th on a Torrens homer. That guy's been raking. Bichette, Bench, and Luis Robert twice joined with Torrens on the long balls. And then Braden Montgomery and Tristan Peters also homered for the White Sox. Luis Castillo struggled again, allowing 8 hits and 2 homers in 2 2/3 innings of work. Again, 10-5 win there for the Mets. And you go to the finale. Pitchers duel until the very end. There was no score until the bottom of the 8th when Andrew Benintendi ripped an RBI double to right. The Mets responded with a Jared Young RBI single in the top of the ninth off of Grant Taylor. But Tristan Peters, noted all-star, smacked the ball to straightaway center that hit off the top of the wall and bounced into the seats for a walk-off homer. I love that guy, by the way. The Sox are now 68-62, 4 clear in the division. South Side stand up. Also, the vibes are awesome there. Just like that whole story with the fan, Emma Rodriguez. Like, baseball is just so fun with that. Like, you could have a moment where people are like, ooh, that's unfortunate. And then it ends up being something really fun. Obviously, she was celebrating. She didn't care. You get to meet a player. You get to get on the field. You get a free bat. Rodgers wants the ball because that guy's had a crazy month. I mean, I imagine his family has to be like, we'll just meet you wherever you are at the end of the season. We'll figure it out. And he has that moment. The White Sox, they just like the Mets have been playing pretty good ball. I thought this was like the Mets were a tough team to beat in this series. And the White Sox are just continue to be great vibes, continue to be tenacious. And they're just a tough team to put away. And they win another series.
2 pros for the White Sox, 1 negative. First pro. Miguel Vargas is so freaking good. He is point blank period one of the best hitters in baseball this season. Now at 854 OPS is awesome. 29 home runs is awesome, but those aren't like upper echelon, I guess maybe outside of the home runs. But if you look at that ex-WOBA equation, right, that we talk about, he's been unlucky. 367 WOBA, 390 ex-WOBA, which basically means there have been a lot of hard hit outs. You know, he's only striking out 17% of the time. He's walking 13% of the time, which is why his baseball savant profile looks so damn red. But I don't even need baseball savant to evaluate Miguel Vargas. You just watch him on an AB per AB basis. The guy takes excellent at-bats, works counts, punishes mistakes, covers the zone, has been such a good hitter for the White Sox. And in the month of August, a 176 WRC plus, meaning he is 76% better than a league average hitter this month. He's awesome. Grant Taylor allowed a run on Sunday, which means his scoreless inning streak of 22 was snapped. Grant Taylor has been one of the best relievers in all of baseball. 2 pros. And there's probably others. I'll throw them over to you. Just 2 I wanted to focus on.
Well,
those.
Yeah, I was saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, quickly on Vargas. I loved the hit tool as a prospect. The question was kind of like, how much is he going to slug? And then here he is slugging, which is just. And when you're doing that now to add to that already super sound profile, like I was talking about it with Elijah. I think. By the way, Elijah Evans, our guy with Future Sox and does the call up with me. I think that's one of the guys I'd be almost as comfortable as any giving a pre-arb extension to.
Oh, no doubt.
Because even if he's not slugging as much certain years, you know he's still going to get on base. You know he's still going to be productive. And then there's still going to be years where I think he's going to be slugging even more than we would have expected, kind of like this year.
And I feel good about him slugging long term too.
I do too.
Maybe he's not a 500 slug guy like he is this year, but is he going to be a perpetual 20 to 25 home run guy with 30 doubles? I think so. And I also think there's more in the tank. Like, I think there could be years where he's 35 to 40 home runs. He's a phenomenal bat. And I don't really care that he stinks defensively. I just give it stick. But then my negative, Colson Montgomery is swinging and missing a lot. Striking out 43% of the time in the month of August. And you know what you're getting with Colson Montgomery. There's a lot of power and a lot of swing and miss. But the reason I also wanted to bring up Colson is that the White Sox are still playing good baseball, and the offense is still performing, even with a guy as good as Colson Montgomery really struggling right now in the middle of the lineup, swinging and missing as much as he is. And I think that speaks to how good this White Sox lineup is that they aren't dependent on 1 or 2 guys.
Yep.
Munetaka Murakami is not even having a great August. Colson Montgomery, again, is striking out 43% of the time with the WRC plus that starts with a 6. And yet they're still winning games because of Mydroff, because of Braden Montgomery, because of Miguel Vargas. Like, they're at the top of the division, and they absolutely deserve to be at the top of the division.
100%. And I think that's the tough part with like the Colson archetype is like, I always talk about like, if you're a high whiff guy, if you also have an above average chase rate, you're going to have to end up probably riding a roller coaster with those types of guys. And they got to thread the needle, and they got to be really doing consistent damage when they're making contact and making the most of their contact in general. Because it's I think you can have one or the other, right? You can be a little bit of a higher chase guy, you can be a higher whiff guy. When you're both, it's harder, I think, for that foundation to stay solid. And like, not to say that Colson Montgomery isn't going to continue to be a really good player. I just think he's going to be one of those guys that has these really streaky stretches and even could have seasons where it's just not totally there relative to what we're used to with him. Because again, when you have two variables like that working against you with the whiff and the chase, it can get tough, especially when you go through a stretch where you just see a lot of arms that are executing well and whatever it may be. But to your point, like, they don't just need to rely on Colson. They've got a lot of guys that can slug for him, and Colson gets hot. It only just helps, propel this lineup on a different level, which I think just the fact that like you have the Tristan Peters of the world and these guys too that do so many different little things, it really helps this team overall. Do you have any other final thoughts from the series? Again, the Mets are playing better baseball. The young guys are fun. They're getting good outings from some of their young guys as well. Nolan McLean has been on an absolute heater. He's going to sprint through the finish line, end up having one of the better like rookie, I know it's kind of like a red shirt rookie, but rookie pitching seasons that we've seen in a while. Like, I think it'll be one of the better if you compare over the last decade plus. And no one's even talking about him for rookie of the year because of how good these bats have been.
And speaking of Nolan McLean, he's a one part of the best rookie tandem in Major League Baseball because Carson Bench is a freaking monster.
Yep.
You called that at the beginning of the season. You were like, Carson Bench, I think he was at 25-1 or maybe even higher odds than that on BetMGM. You said those odds are wrong. He is absolutely going to be one of the front runners, maybe even winning the National League Rookie of the Year. And then he got off to a really rough start. And I think you pulled back a little bit and you were like, what can you do? Right. And then the dude has put up a phenomenal second half. Really, since June 1st, he's been one of the best rookies in baseball. He's got a 3.1 FWAR. That is one win clear of a guy like Sal Stewart. He's now second in the National League in FWAR to J.J. Weatherholt. He's approaching 20 homers, 20 steals, playing decent defense as well. A.J. Ewing is a solid player, but I think Benj has really established himself as a future building block for the Mets.
Yeah, he's always been one of my favorites, and it's just been really cool to see him just settle in here and hit his stride in the second half. And the sum of his parts is just, it's such a well-rounded player with the bat-to-ball skills and the defense and some of the sneaky speed that he can bring to the table, or ridiculous arm. And he's only going to grow into more power. I really do believe that. So very, very exciting building block there for the Mets. And yeah, again, Nolan McLean with 6 innings of, I think it was one hit ball, lowered his ERA on the season to 3.21. And I mean, in a year where he's at 148 2/3 innings as well, like he's going to throw 170 innings at maybe a low threes and may not finish in the top 3 in Rookie of the Year.
And don't you kind of feel like he's not even having as good of a season as we would have hoped? Like, just
That's
based on how good he can be, it doesn't feel like he's having a great year, but that speaks to how good he is, that a low 3s ERA eating a bunch of innings. We're not even at the top of the iceberg for Nolan McLean. I still feel like we're underwater with him.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the, I think, the better arms in the game at a certain point soon. And I think he's figured a lot of things out. It's going to be fun to watch him continue to develop.
Real quick, cool note. Peyton mentioned Carson Bench and Nolan McLean teammates at Oklahoma State. That's really awesome.
And I think there was a year where Benj actually threw more innings than McLean. Baseball's crazy.
Crazy.
We go to Cincinnati versus Arizona. Game 1, all Arizona bombs away against Nick Lodolo, who allowed 10 hits, 6 runs, and 3 1/3 innings of work. Geraldo Perdomo, 3 for 5 day. Jordan Waller had a 3-hit day with a homer. Moreno, Carroll, Tawa all had multi-hit days. Easy, lopsided 9-0 win there for the D-backs. But game 2, the Reds bats come back and they make plenty of noise. JJ Bleday hits for the cycle. He homered in the first. He then tripled in the third, singled in the fourth, and then homered to open up the 6th for his 21st of the year. Ellie De La Cruz also finished a triple shy of the cycle in a 4-hit day. And Sal Stewart had 3 hits, while Stevenson and Hector Rodriguez had multi-hit days. Nolan Arenado and Tim Tawa homered for Arizona, but Zach Littell got lit up after Michael Soroka got lit up, and that resulted in an 11-5 win there for the Reds, and it sounds like Soroka is headed to the IL. You go to game 3. The Reds got off to a 3-0 lead on Stewart and Suarez RBI hits, but the D-backs scored 5 unanswered, including 4 in the 7th that featured a 2-run RBI triple by Ildemaro Vargas to take the lead, and they held on for a 5-3 victory to take the series. Again, it's always going to be crazy out there in Arizona. You're going to see a lot of offense. The Reds offense has been iffy, but they're also an offense where it's like, hey, when they heat up, it's understandable. Like, you're not going to be shocked that Elly De La Cruz has a huge day, or JJ Bleday, the way he's performed this year, or Sal Stewart, or Eugenio Suarez, even, especially being back in Arizona. So they took that one game, but Arizona did what they needed to do. They take the series and just continue to kind of hang around here. But I think the biggest blow for them is that Soroka might be headed to the IL right after they just got him back.
Yeah, it really sucks too, because Soroka, had put up a really solid season this year. Maybe his best since that rookie year that really put him on the map. Just going up and down with injuries really stinks, especially for a Diamondbacks team that is expecting Corbin Burnes back, I think early of September. So they'll get a little bit of a bump there. But at the same time, they're kind of treading water in that rotation right now with all the injuries besides Corbin Burnes and now Michael Soroka that they have sustained. And this is kind of one of those straightforward series where there's not a ton to grab onto. One thing that I do want to note, and you already kind of mentioned it, JJ Bleday this cycle. We make fun of the Reds front office a lot, and I don't even think we do it as much as Reds fans online do it. They are tagging us and being like, continue to destroy them. They deserve it. Oh, don't worry. But we're just kind of saying the same thing over and over again, that we're very disappointed in the way that they're running things. However, the pickup of JJ Bleday has been objectively great, right? 21 home runs. It's a career high for him. 1.5 FWAR, solid player. You got him for peanuts, basically. And Bleday is parlaying that into hopefully a multi-year deal next year, right? He can play some center field. He's 20 to 25 home run power. He's a solid player, and he really recouped a lot of that value in Cincinnati. And on the Arizona side, while Ketel Marte is at a casino, they're just winning series, and they're competing here. And the casino thing, like, me personally, when I saw it, I didn't think it was as big a deal as everybody made it. Because if he is hurt, I get it's not a great look. I'm totally I understand that, right? When you're on the IL and you're seeing it at a casino a couple days after all of the drama happened with you not showing up to Boston. But if a guy is actually hurt, if he's on the IL, which I believe he is, if they put him on the IL, spending some time away from the field, just playing cards, is not that big of a deal to me. Now, it's one thing like when we saw the CJ Abrams thing, where he was there until 2 a.m. And then
I think it was worse.
Yeah, it might have been worse than that. That's bad. But if he's just spending a night when he's hurt playing cards, that's not that big of a deal to me. It just feels like a bigger deal because he's not showing up to games in Boston and he's on the IL. So that's all I wanted to say about it.
Yeah, no, very fair point. I think the biggest reason why it was received poorly was that the best thing PR-wise that Marte had going for him and that the team was clearly trying to create here was that you don't understand the whole story. You don't know the whole story. And maybe we still don't. But
I feel like we do. I'm just guessing, but it does seem pretty fucking obvious right now.
Yeah. If it's hey, you don't know the whole story, he could have some other things going on. Okay. The first thing that I would probably do is just go home from my treatment there. Cause again, I think it's the disregard for optics and care. If I were Ketel and had any appreciation for how much Torey Lovello has just protected me nonstop, maybe the last thing I'd want to do is be seen at a casino where I know that people are going to be like, wow, my team is playing, or people are going to be like, oh, look at Ketel, he's at the casino. And then I know that my manager, first things first, is going to have to then answer for that. Now, I don't think Ketel has been, thinking ahead like that. And I think he's obviously emotionally dealing with something right now that just, I would just think that with the entire PR nightmare that this has been, you'd have a little bit of feel after the whole conversation that he probably had with the team, all of those things to just, maybe not continue to fan the fire. He just seems to always fan the fire, whether it's intentional or not, which I always think is
unintentional, but at the same time, you got to understand what you're doing here, Ketel Marte. And this is not happened once, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 12 times, shame on Ketel Marte.
Yeah.
But just the casino
Yeah, I
incident,
agree. In a
quote unquote,
vacuum.
is actually not that big of a deal. But when you just add it on top, so I'm sure that's what he's thinking. Like, it's not that big of a deal if I'm on the IL and I go to a casino. Yeah, I can tell, but at the same time, all the media is talking about is you, and then you stack this on top, it's just going to make it worse. You're just going to make life harder for everybody else. But whatever, the Diamondbacks won a series.
Yeah, and there's never been an explanation as to why he didn't show up and was put on the restricted list before getting hurt. And now the PR saving move is he's hurt. Like, we're going to have him recover and whatever while they sort out whatever the dispute is right now. So my big thing is like, I think from that side of it, it just makes it a lot more difficult optically to continue to sell what they're kind of trying to sell there.
Do you think we can hold off on the 12th Red Sox documentary and maybe get one about Ketel Marte and all this stuff maybe in a few years?
I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that ends up coming to light about just the whole dynamic here and everything afterwards. Because we literally had like the CEO of the team, saying like, we still don't know what's going on. Like, so like there's just so many crazy wrinkles to it.
Yeah.
We go to Minnesota versus San Diego. And game one, Padres jumped out in front early with a 2-run homer by who other than Ty France in the bottom of the first. And after a 2-run triple from Cody Clemens tied it, San Diego put it away with a 4-run bottom of the fifth on 3 singles and a sac fly. Randy Vasquez was diabolical, going 7 innings of 2-hit, 2-run ball and 87 pitches. And Bradley Rodriguez and Mason Miller shut it down by going 6 up, 6 down with 4 Ks in the 8th and 9th, 6-2 Padres there. We go to game 2. Minnesota was in front 4-1 after 4, but the Padres played a run in the 6th and 4 in the bottom of the 7th to put it away. Keyshaw, Lee, and Caitlin Culpepper all homered against Casey Mize in the first 2 innings, and Mize made it only through 2 2/3 before being pulled with an ankle sprain after he slipped going down into the dugout steps earlier in the start. Merrill hit his 20th homer of the year. Morahone and Miller had a perfect 8th and 9th there. I feel like the slipping in the on the way down to the dugout thing is like it happens more often than you'd think. I remember it happened to like Luis Arias, and then it happened again. But I feel like it's happened with a lot of different players through the years. I don't really know what to do though about that. Cleats and concrete, never a good combination.
It happened to me in high school. Like I was walking, it doesn't matter, but just goes to show that it could literally happen to anyone.
They got to put like the mats there. I don't know, but it happens. That and the concrete below the walls in the outfield are two things we got to figure out how to minimize the damage there. But we go to game 3. The Twins could not minimize the damage against the Padres yet again. Fernando Tatis homered in the 3rd. You did get a Brooks Lee homer to counter, but that was it for the Twins. We ended up seeing 7 more runs for the Padres. Jackson Merrill homered again. Tatis homered again, and also had an RBI or 2 RBI single. Tatis is on a different level right now, obviously. And the Padres win 8-1. He had the 4 hits, 4 batted balls, 105 plus miles per hour, and 4 driven in. Tatis in his first 55 games had 0 home runs and a 75 mile per hour bat speed, average exit velocity of 90 miles per hour. In 74 games since then, and this is not including today's incredible performance, 16 for the bat speed and EVs. But in the 74 games since then, 16 homers, a 77 mile per hour average bat speed, and a 94.7 mile per hour average exit velocity. Suffices to say, he figured something out. And Tatis is back to superstar Tatis.
Yeah, figuring something out is almost doing him a disservice. He has become he's a top 5 player in the sport since then by F4, 3.1, which is tied for 3rd with Bobby Witt Jr. and shout out Pete Alonso as well and Yordan Alvarez. So crazy though. I'm looking at this chart right now, and Tatis deserves all the love in the world with his 146 WRC plus. Pete Crow Armstrong in that same time frame, 72 games, 6.9 F4. What the hell? He's gaining a win every 10 games.
Yeah.
But, 199 WRC plus 26 homers, 19 jacks. But bringing that up to say that Fernando Tatis Jr. is playing at half that level, and that's a superstar level right now. But with Merrill hitting the way that he is, with Ty France, that bullpen, and the amount of comebacks the Padres have. I mean, Saturday's game was another good example. They're down in the count, down by 3 runs. And what did the Padres do? They mount yet another comeback. They're just the comeback kids. So you combine your superstars playing well, your bullpen shutting the door, you're getting good enough starting pitching performances, and you're never out of a game. That's why the Padres are now at 71 wins and a team that nobody wants to get in front of right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, it would be fun if we had like a Padres versus Phillies series right now, just with the way it would be fun in the playoffs too. Don't get me wrong, but just like right now, because it feels like both of these teams are unstoppable. And I would just love to see how they kind of would run into each other. The Jackson Merrill like surge to then pair with the surge of Tatis is really what has me feeling excited about this lineup. Because again, Ty France, you can't say that guy's going to slow down. Like Ty France is just going to do this all year long. He has proven it. And then you've seen all the complementary pieces doing what they need to do. And like, again, in a start where you lose Mize, he doesn't throw very well. You're still able to just offensive onslaught and bail out your pitchers. And then once you get that lead, you can hold on to it because your bullpen is outrageous. It's really fun to watch this Padres team right now. Any thoughts on the Twins? Yeah, I don't think it's as much of an indictment on the Twins because they ran into a buzzsaw, but at the same time, I just think the Twins are another mediocre American League team.
Yeah. It's kind of an indictment on the Twins. Watching them this weekend, I was like, God damn, they suck right now. Because like when they're not hitting, this pitching staff is just brittle. And I mean, teams just can hang a 5 spot on that bullpen at any given moment. And it's improved, right? You see Minter come in. Yuendrys Gomez has been good. Jeff Hoffman's been good. But you get into the middle there, and their starting pitching just isn't good enough. And when Byron Buxton is not firing on all cylinders, too, to help this offense kind of take that next step, it just gets rough. And Twins are kind of falling. And as the Twins fall, the Padres are going up, and they met, and that's how you get a sweep, especially at Petco, where even when the Padres aren't playing all that well, they're just so tough to beat there, right? They're not Marlins level in Miami.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the standings, the Padres actually, they basically are. They're 40-26. And I don't even know if that includes, today's win over the Twins. So they're just a tough team. They really are. And I think of all of my futures, all of them are on pace in terms of the win total. I might be waving the white flag soon on this Padres team. That might be big fat L, but we'll see. There's still a month and a half or like 5 weeks left. We'll see what happens.
That's all I got, though. That's all I got from my series, and that's all I got on the Padres, but I'm just enjoying watching them play right now.
I got 10 series. Podcast P, would you mind giving us our first whoosh? Blue Jays versus Yankees. Game 1, Yankees win 3-1. Spencer Jones opened the scoring with a 2-run homer in the second inning, and that's all Cam Schlittler would need, tossing 6 innings of 1-run ball. The Jays had runners on consistently, but when you go 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position, it's going to be tough to win that one. Move to game 2, where the Blue Jays get revenge. They win 4-3 because Dylan Cease carried a no-hitter into the 7th, finishing with 6 2/3 innings of 1-run ball, which is 2 hits allowed. And the Yankees return the favor by going 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. In the meantime, the Jays built a 3-0 lead on RBI singles from Springer, McAdoo, and Nathan Lucas. And then Lucas went yard in the 8th, bringing home the important 4th run as Luis Garcia's 2-run shot in the 8th narrowed it down to 4-3. And then Varland came in to shut the door for his 29th save of the season. Move to game 3, the rubber match, Yankees win 8-3. The Yankees got out to an early 2-0 lead on RBI doubles from Spencer Jones and Austin Wells, but the Jays would tie it up before the Yankees took full control, highlighted by a 2-run single for Ben Rice and a Jazz Chisholm home run, his 18th, and Trent Grisham went homer later for the exclamation point. And I think that brings us to this American League Cy Young conversation. I think I want to talk about it more in detail this week. We don't have to dive into it fully, but round 2, Podcast P made a great video that he posted, all over social media, where the first time both of them pitched really well, and then the second time both of them pitched really well. And I saw some comments arguing And I was really like, honestly, these two offenses are pretty easy to carve through right now. There's no wonder that they both pitch pretty well. The Yankees offense has just been tough to watch, and the Blue Jays offense continues to be tough to watch. But Podcast P just put up, the seasons for both of these guys live here on YouTube, and Schlittler has the innings advantage and he has the ERA advantage, but all the underlying metrics would hand it over to Dylan Cease, which is why right now they have the exact same F4 at 5.0. Unless Schlittler has a blow-up start, I think he's going to win, because at the end of the day, if Cease has 25 more strikeouts, I'm still taking the guy with the better ERA and more innings, but this is truly going to come down to the end.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was at even before, where I felt like if they go toe-to-toe, it's going to be Schlittler that ultimately has the edge because of the ERA and because of the innings difference there. And every start that they kind of match each other, I think it just continues to skew towards Schlittler. But it only takes one, right? It only takes one blow up where I think it can get interesting. Regardless, it's been cool that we've been able to see them kind of go against each other's teams twice now in the last couple of weeks, and both, again, have these really, really impressive starts. Did this series, because the Blue Jays were playing better ball of late.
Yeah.
And you're going to get their best punch when you're playing against when it's the Yankees. Did this series make you feel better about how the Yankees have played of late? Like, it's funny too, because you hear like this and that about the Yankees and like, oh, it's been frustrating, whatever. They're almost 20 games over 500.
Yeah.
Which is nuts without Judge. Of course, we had the news Stanton wasn't going to come back, but we've talked about it. Like, that was always kind of like a you hope maybe. But Judge is the one that you're just kind of waiting on and hoping. But I don't know I don't know if I believe in Spencer Jones long term, but the fact that he could be kind of a microwave for them right now and do what he's doing, I think has been huge to just kind of survive and advance until you get Judge back.
And that's what it is. Survive and advance until Judge back. So do I have any sweeping takeaways about the Yankees? No, it's been kind of the same story all year. And what I mean by that is that the starting pitching is phenomenal. I know Fried's been a little bit banged up. Ryan Weathers just hit the IL, but I mean, whoever they put in, headline right now by Schlittler and Cole. This rotation has been one of the best in baseball. And when healthy, they can go up against anybody. And this bullpen with Bednar closing, who's been awesome this year, but with Brent Hedrick and Paul Blackburn pitching to ERAs below 1.75. Hedrick's at 1.49. I think Blackburn's at 1.76. You got Fernando Cruz. There's so many good arms back there. Not the sexiest names, but they get the job done. It's just that the lineup isn't even close to what it could be without Aaron Judge. It just isn't, because not only do you have Aaron freaking Judge, but it almost feels like Aaron Judge makes the rest of the lineup better.
Of course he does.
We've seen what happens to Ben Rice without Aaron Judge. One of the biggest second half creators, still having a great season overall because it was like a 1,200 OPS before Aaron Judge went down. We've seen what Cody Bellinger looks like when Aaron Judge is in the lineup. So does this make me feel good that they took 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays? Like, kind of. But it really is just waiting on Aaron Judge. And it did stink to see George Lombard Jr. have a couple of errors, 3 to be exact, in 3 games. And as a very measured, balanced Yankee fan, I think it's time to say that it's over for him. Long term. You can't have 3 errors like that and expect me to back you anymore, right?
The DRS were fake. The errors, you just forfeited them all. If you make 3 errors in 3 games, you actually lose. Your DRS gets reset back to 0. But no, it is a reminder though. Like, you're going to go in playoffs here, and I think Lombard's built for it. But like, game's going to be quick on a rookie shortstop, and probably a good thing he's getting the errors out of his way now. Ryan Weathers, losing him with a flexor is tough with the way he was throwing. And for the Jays, like, it's nice to see some of these bats get going. Vladdy, had a nice game. I was thinking game 2. It just seems like the at-bats in general are at least a little bit better, but then you go to the final game and it's just like ground out.
That's the thing. He's not putting it together consistently. And that's almost the worst part about Vladdy is sometimes he shows and you're like, oh shit, here we go. Right? Where you expect him to go on a Tatis run. And then he just reverts back to mowing the grass.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't have any other like major. Alejandro Kirk has been phenomenal And that's been a big reason why this team's looked a little bit better. He's been one of the best hitters over the last month and change. He's, again, really, really good baseball player, so it makes sense. But now healthy and performing at an extremely high level, that's helped. But it's still a lot of like kind of random guys that you're kind of hoping can hold it down for you. And I don't know. I think the Jays have a chance still. But tough series in New York. Nothing too alarming to take away on a negative for them.
Yeah, they're 1.5 games out of the third wild card spot with the Rangers and the Guardians ahead of them, and nobody's afraid of either of those teams. So truly anything can happen. Let's go over to the Rays and the Orioles. Game 1, Orioles win 5-3. Pete Alonso, who has been so good this year, needs to be covered more. Opened the scoring with an RBI single, but Chandler Simpson would answer back with the same. Then Kenny Piper hit a 2-run shot, his first career home run. Now, Dylan Beavers would answer immediately with a homer of his own. Then Holiday tied it up with the sac fly in the 5th, followed by Pete Alonso's 30th homer of the season to take the lead, and that was all they needed. Both Freddie Peralta and Trevor Rogers went 7 innings, but Rogers only allowed 3 runs and took home the win. Game 2, Orioles win 3-2 in 10 innings. McClanahan threw 5 shutty, and Liam Hicks homered early, but after Junior ripped an RBI single to make it 2-0 in the 6th, it was all Baltimore. Basayo hit a huge game-tying homer in the 8th, and we head to extras where a Dylan Beavers RBI double walked it off. But Game 3, Rays salvage the series. They win 3-1. Shane Baz tossed 5 shutout innings, looked great, but then everything came crumbling down in the 6th. Jackson Holiday error, wild pitch, and singles from Junior Caminero and Chandler Simpson, and all of a sudden it was 3-0. And on the other side, Nick Martinez was
the GOAT.
The GOAT. He was brilliant. 6 shutty, 1 hit, no walks. His ERA is at 2.93. Where do you want to start? Tampa, Baltimore? Because Baltimore isn't last, but at the same time, they're kind of in it. And at this point, Tampa is the division leader. You drop a series to a division rival on the road, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know, not a ton to take away unless you got something about Pete Alonso, because I'll talk about Pete Alonso for the next 20 minutes if you want to.
Yeah, well, Pete Alonso since the start of August has a 221 WRC plus. He's in 387, 446, 693 over 20 games with 7 homers, and should have an 8th, right? Had 1 taken away from him as well. He has been amazing, and like reason why this team has even a pulse. They've played the Rays well all year long.
Yeah, they have.
Which has been funny, even through their struggles. Nick Martinez, for me, has just been one of the stories of the year. For a guy with his stuff, to be doing what he is doing is just so much fun. And just another just savvy, just smart pickup by the Rays. And I know like he's had success in other places. He's one of those guys where it's like a smart pickup for every team that picks him up. And we say it every time. But I think this has been like just a final form of Nick Martinez that I don't think you ever would have imagined. Like you always thought of him as like a high floor kind of guy, but he's given you ceiling this year. He's got a 2.93 over a large sample now. I mean, this guy's giving you 150 innings at a 2.93. It's been ridiculous, and a huge reason why the Rays have been one of the best teams in baseball.
I agree. And this comment here from Derek Dominoes in our YouTube chat, just imagine how good the Orioles record would be if Gunnar had been decent. And you look at Gunnar's, full season, and you see 20 homers, you see 10 stolen bases, you see a near 3 WAR, and it's like, oh, that's, over exaggerating. Not at all. Gunnar has 51 RBIs this season. And when you think about RBIs, it's situational based. But the amount of times that he has come up short in run producing situations is abysmal. So that's why he's only at 51 RBIs. But if you look at win probability added, he's a negative player. The clutch stat on Fangraphs, he's a negative player. It's like Gunnar is able to accumulate some numbers to make it seem like he's having a fine season, right? A 2.8 F4, that's a pretty good season, right?
Yeah.
On a game-by-game basis, he has been much more of a detriment to Baltimore than the 2.8 F4 would suggest without context.
100%. And just to give context, even last year, he was a 342 hitter with runners in scoring position over 143 plate appearance sample. He's a 220 hitter with runners in scoring position this year. It's just.
Did you see what Podcast P also wrote? 143 batting average with 2 outs and runners in scoring position.
Jeez. Yeah, that's no bueno. And yeah, I hope it gets better for him because he still just turned 25 years old.
Yeah,
of
course.
Obviously, has all the
MVP next year. He's awesome, but it's just this year not good.
It's just not been there for him, and it's been a big reason why the Orioles have been held back.
No doubt about it. And Pete Alonso is trying to do all he can. In that same span where Tatis hadn't hit a homer, and from May 30th on, Pete Alonso was tied in F4. That's how good he has been. And I'm sure even after Sunday's game, he might even get helped out a little bit more. But now let's move over to the Cardinals and the Phillies. Game 1, Phillies win 7-6 in 10 innings. Joshua Baez opened the scoring with a 2-run homer in the first, but RBI doubles from Marsh and Real Muto tied it up in the second, and then Bohm gave Philly the lead with an RBI single in the third. But Jordan Walker fired back with a 2-run shot to give St. Louis the lead, but then Philly regained that. Then Brian Torres tied it back up, and then we head to extras, where Jose Fermin delivered St. Louis the lead in the 10th, but then Alec Bohm ripped a 2-run triple right at Jose Fermin. Well, not right at him, but you know what I mean, in that direction. And the Phillies walked it off. Game 2, Phillies win 12-3. It was 7-0 after 3 innings. And then Harper and Schwarber homered to rout St. Louis. That's 38 for Schwarber, which leads MLB, but we'll definitely talk about Schwarber in a second. On the other side, Painter was excellent on the mound. 7 innings, a 1-run ball with 8 punchies, but we moved to game 3, maybe the best game of the weekend, or at least the best inning of the weekend, depending on who you talk to in St. Louis versus Philadelphia. Cardinals had a 4-0 lead going into the 9th on a home run from Jose Fermin, 2 RBI hits from Alec Burleson. Felt good, right? You're going to salvage the series? Nope. Edmundo Sosa cleared the bases with an RBI double. Brian De La Cruz singled to tie it. And then Schwarber smacked one over the batter's eye, 459 feet to walk it off for the Phillies' 9th straight win. Riley O'Brien couldn't believe it. It was the first runs he's allowed in a month. The all-star closer was just dumbfounded by how hot the Phillies are. And it's one thing for the offense to figure it out. We've talked about that. But how about figuring out some answers outside of Luzardo, Wheeler, and Sanchez with Andrew freaking Painter on them?
If they can get more of this, I mean, that changes a lot. Because it's also... Nola's throwing the ball well too right now. So you've got Nola throwing it well and Painter throwing it well. You figure, okay, they're both probably not going to keep it rolling all the way through the rest of the year. I think both have tangibly maybe found some things that you can buy into, but you only really need one of them to keep it rolling. So I think that has really helped them in terms of the push too for the rest of the season. Like forget the playout, like how they match up in the playoffs. Like you've got your 3 guys at the top, but to make this push through the rest of the regular season, I think, especially if you're getting even just semi-quality starts from Painter, you have an opportunity here if you're the Phillies, I think, to make this thing interesting in the division. They're 2.5 out. As we're recording this, the Braves might end up winning, on Sunday Night Baseball, but they're 2.5 out. So worst case 3, best case 2 games out going into this next week here. The division is very much in play for them.
2-1 on BetMGM. That's all I'm saying. What about on the other side? Because this felt like a really tough series for St. Louis because they're still battling, right? We talked about the Marlins, and our guy Riley in the YouTube comments wanted to mention the Marlins real quick. Thank you so much, Riley, for the donation. Sweeping huge for Fish, but Yuri Perez's maturity under McCullough is the real story. Battling through 5 without his best command is elite. You want to answer your boy Riley on that one, Aram?
I think he used AI for that, but I'm not sure. I love it, though. I appreciate you, Riley. We're doing a fantasy football draft right now. I'm in a league with him. So I'm actually on the clock. I just took Jamar Chase. So I think that's why he sent that in there. But no, he is right. I think this Marlins team would be like underwater if not Yuri having the stretch that he's having with Max Meyer out of the rotation. But with the Phillies, man, like I really think they've got a shot here. And when you go to the Cardinals side, like I don't want to overreact because when the Marlins got swept by the Phillies this past week, I was like, oh, there's the nail in the coffin. They're going to start to fade too. And then they bounce right back. It might just be the Phillies being insane, but it does kind of feel like I have a similar feeling here where it's like, the this might be kind of the beginning of the end here for the Cardinals. And they're kind of trending back down, to earth with subtracting a couple pieces. Like, I think they're going to play hard the rest of the way, but I just think you're going to see that distance from the other really hot wild card teams, just kind of broadening.
One thing that I wanted to mention before we move on to the remaining series is Kyle Leahy of the St. Louis Cardinals, because the Phillies mounted this comeback, but they were down 4-0 because Leahy threw another 4 innings of shutout baseball. He has allowed just 3 earned runs this month in 19 innings, and that's on the heels of 4 earned runs total in 26 innings back in July. This is 126 innings at a 3.13 ERA for Kyle Leahy. Incredibly impressive for the 29-year-old who last year threw 88 innings in the bullpen to a 3.07 ERA. Newfound riches here in the rotation for St. Louis. Obviously, he just didn't get the win because the bullpen completely blew it. But again, we're just looking for building blocks, and it seems like Kyle Leahy is a solid pitcher.
They've got a lot of solid high floor arms all of a sudden, which I think really helps when you're building, the foundation. And Quinn Matthews had a bad follow-up to his first couple outings, but I still think he can be a guy that ends up being serviceable in some sort of role. I still think can be a solid back into the rotation starter, but regardless, we'll fill a big league role for them. And they've got a lot of irons in the fire there. And I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited going into next year. Maybe they can do what the Marlins did and sweep the next series and get themselves back on track a little bit and back into the hunt. It just feels like with how good all the other teams are playing, it's going to be hard for the Cardinals, but they're still so much fun to watch. And I hope fans really embrace them the rest of the way, because this is a team for next season that I think is going to be a very popular pick to make that leap.
Lowest ERA in the NL since the All-Star break. Kyle freaking Leahy at 1.70. All right, now it's time to move over to the Tigers against the Royals. Game 1, Royals win 5-2. The Royals scored a run in every inning from the 4th to the 8th, led by homers from Kyle Isbell, Vinny Pasquantino, and Carter Jensen. Kyle Isbell also had an RBI double late, and Noah Cameron continues his hot stretch, tossing 5 shutout innings. That's now 14 straight scoreless, dating back to his complete game in his last start. Game 2, Royals win 3-1. Kyle Isbell stayed hot, homering in the 3rd, and then Salvi followed suit with his 17th homer of the season, which ended up being just enough as the lone Tigers run came off the bat of Hao-Yu Lee, a solo shot, because the most underrated pitcher in baseball was on the mound. I said it at the beginning of the year, and he just continues to be underrated. Who is that? It's not some young gun. It's not some guy you've seen on Pitching Ninja that deserves more love. No, it's the old guy who nobody cares about, Michael freaking Wacha. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 6 strikeouts, ERAs at 3.49. You can just pencil Michael Wacha in for a mid-3s ERA, I think, for the rest of time, or at least he's done it for the last half decade. Move to game 3, though. Tigers trying to avoid the sweep. Nope. Royals win their 8th straight, 11-7. A 5-run second inning put the Royals in the driver's seat as Nick Lofton, who's been red hot lately, hit a big 3-run homer. Now, the Tigers would answer for 4 runs in the 5th, highlighted by a Kevin McGonigal dinger, but then the Royals put up 4 in the bottom half of that inning, highlighted by a John Rave homer, and that was that. The Royals win their 8th straight game. It's so funny looking at the American League wildcard picture and the National League wildcard picture. The Royals and the Pirates are separated by 6 games, and yet they're both 7.5 games out of the wild card in their respective leagues. Someone mentioned that in the Discord, and I had to almost fact check that because it felt so wrong, and yet here we are, Arm.
There's so many ways where the standing situation just breaks my brain. It's I was looking at the standings, and the fact that like the Royals are like mathematically like not dead, like it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like they could theoretically get on a hot streak and be like 4 games out in like in a week and a half or 2, which won't happen. But it's just ridiculous that that's reasonably possible. This sweep is a backbreaker though for the Tigers. It seemed that like we were talking about, like, hey, maybe they stay hot, even after the trade, and can like nestle their way into this conversation. that sweep at the end of the Royals, who have been playing better ball, like for sure.
Definitely.
It's just a really tough one to I think be able to come back from. But again, anybody can come back from anything in the American League, because nothing is a fatal blow. There's no such thing.
My brain is supposed to be counting out the Tigers. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 5 in a row. They're 61-69, 8 games below 500, and they're 3.5 games out of the division, or out of the wild card, excuse me. Like, just a hot streak could put them right back into it. Another thing that I wanted to note from this series, Bobby Witt Jr. has a half-win lead on Yordan Alvarez in the F4 conversation. Now, can I give you a hypothetical?
Sure.
Say Royals play better baseball. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think that would be stupid to throw that into this hypothetical situation. But let's say the Royals crawl out of obscurity and end up having a fine-ish season. The Astros miss the playoffs. Let's say the Guardians or, the Rangers or another team leapfrogs them for that final spot. Yordan doesn't win the Triple Crown, and Bobby Witt Jr. leads the American League in WAR by a full win. Is it still definitely Yordan's award?
I think the offensive numbers are so crazy.
I agree. I'm just curious, because in that situation, he doesn't have all the pillars that would just make him an auto vote, like the Triple Crown or like the Astros winning the division. And if Bobby Witt Jr. is a full lead in WAR, I'm not saying it's then Bobby Witt's. I'm just saying it makes it a much more interesting conversation.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. I think Yordan's numbers are going to be just too outrageous, but it is funny. The Royals have won 8 in a row now. And again, if they rattle off a few more, they're 7.5 out. It's funny to see, but I still think Yordan's numbers are too crazy, but the WAR game could make it interesting.
That's all I wanted to say. The WAR game could make it a little bit interesting, and I might have a ticket on Bobby Witt Jr. at plus 600. So, I'm just throwing it out.
I still think Yordan. Yeah, I think he runs away with it.
Still. Yeah, it's tough. That's a large mountain to climb. But because WRC plus doesn't involve intentional walks, I might, he might just get intentionally walked for the rest of the year.
If he doesn't get pitched to the rest of the year, you got a shot.
But that's not out of the realm of possibility. We're joking, but he could get intentionally walked twice a game for the next 40 games. And then what are we talking about?
That is
all right. Let's Angels versus Rangers. Okay. The series everybody was watching this past weekend. Game 1, Rangers win 2-1 in 10 innings. Phenomenal pitchers duel as we went to extra innings, knotted at 0 after both Gore and Detmers threw 6 shutout innings, and Denzer Guzman broke the tie in the 10th with an RBI double, but Langford would do the same to tie it up. Then Ezekiel Duran walked it off after Denzer Guzman dove for a ground ball, then threw it wide to second, allowing the winning run to score. Game 2, Angels blank them, win 3-0. Take a bow, Ryan Johnson. 7 innings, a 1-hit ball, taking a no-hitter into the 6th inning. Mike Trout, Mo Baller, and Vaughn Grissom all had RBI hits, and the Angels win. But in Game 3, the rubber match, Cal freaking Quantrill. 6 innings, no earned, no walks, 6 strikeouts. His ERA is down to 2.90. Might be time to head to your local tattoo parlor and get that thing done.
Again, he did it again.
He did it again. Duran and Diaz homered. Freeman had an RBI triple. The only Angels runs came late, highlighted by Zach Neto homer. And with this win, the Rangers somehow are tied with the Astros in the American League West at 65 and 66. The Mariners are 62 and 69, 3 games out of the division, 3 games out of the wild card. Honestly, the Angels might win the division with how these teams are playing. Like, who knows, man? It's like the Astros are 2-dimensional, and the Rangers just aren't very good. Just point blank. Like, I don't know who's going to win. Your guess is as good as mine.
This is talk about like a division race that, like, what's the opposite of a documentary? Like, how do we just like erase it from anybody's memory ever? Like, this should never be covered. We shouldn't even be talking about the AL West. We should just ignore it. Just pretend it doesn't exist.
Should we boycott it? Should we boycott the AL West?
I'm not opposed. They don't deserve our time. It's just And not that our time's very valuable either. It's just I just don't.
Yeah, you're not talking about how our time's crazy valuable. That's how invaluable the AL West is.
I can't do it anymore, man. I just don't know what to talk about. Cal, though, like, it's not even a joke. He's been unbelievable.
He has saved the Rangers rotation. He has saved it.
They would be absolutely a full notch behind if it weren't for what he has done. To have a 2.90 and like he's striking guys out.
Yeah,
like, he's doing it all. I still think for the Rangers, like, and I've said it over and over again. At least he's back in the lineup, and he had a multi-hit day, and on the Sunday game, like, if anything's going to change things tangibly for this Rangers team, it's kind of something similar, which I think is more of a long shot, but something similar to what we saw with the Padres, where it's like, there's Wyatt Langford, and then there's Corey Seager. Like, I think those guys have to be playing at an all-star level, and maybe that shifts the perspective a little bit. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just kind of hoping and looking back on their careers and being like, you should be way better than this. And I have more faith in Langford, but it's like Seager just looks like a different player. I don't know if he's still playing hurt. I don't know what it is. But it's really Jake Berger. Like, he's the guy that runs. And Brandon Nimmo is still having a fine season. Also, looking back, Rangers fleeced the Mets on that one. Semien hasn't done anything offensively. So it was a great pickup for the Rangers, but it hasn't, resulted in a ton of wins. And I think the big reason why is that this Rangers rotation is just taking a big step back, because Cal Quantrill is by far the ace. Yes, Cal Quantrill is better than Jacob deGrom. Yes, Cal Quantrill is better than Nathan Eovaldi. We kind of already knew that. It was just about Quantrill proving it, right? Don't you agree with that? That we already knew that.
What kind of deal do you think is he get like is he going to get like deGrom money? Do they just give him deGrom's contract, since deGrom didn't even, he vetoed the trade?
Well,
they might just
think about this. Has deGrom ever put up a 2.90 in a Rangers uniform? Could that money have been allocated to a better spot, like Quantrill's bank account? I think so. So I think it's a little bit disrespectful to even give him deGrom money with how he's pitching. It's probably more. Do you give him Yamamoto money? Now we're talking.
It's actually been amazing to see, because again, the strikeouts part is the craziest part, I think, in general. And
see those 94-mile-an-hour sinkers in on hands arm.
He's just a student of the game, and just like keeps adjusting and adapting and figuring it out, which is fun. But do you have any take, like, any final thought? I mean, Zach Neto scorching right now, which is amazing, but I don't know, this Rangers team, I don't trust any of the AL West teams. They're just a tough watch in general. I don't know.
No, I'm down to boycott them.
Yeah,
except for Quantrill. And I could talk about Quantrill. I could talk about him for the next 20 minutes, but I do think it's probably a good idea to move on to our next 5 series. Podcast P, let's hear from our friends at Hampton Farms Peanuts.
Hampton Farms Peanuts, 7 grams of protein per serving. Get yours using code JUSTBASEBALL for 25% off.
Guardians versus Rockies. Game 1, Guardians win 9-1. Rockies scored their only run first off the bat of Willie Castro, and then the Guardians would just beat the crap out of them. Petey Halpin and Patrick Bailey homered, and Travis Bazzano went 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Moved to game 2, Guardians win 4-3. Tanner Bybee was really solid in this one. 6 innings, a 2-run ball, and the Guardians offense did the rest. Joe Adell got most of it on one swing, a 3-run jack, his 20th, and Patrick Bailey had a key RBI single to hold off home runs from Mickey Moniak and Connor Norby for Colorado. We move to game 3. Guardians win 7-2. 5 runs from Cleveland in the first 2 innings put the Rockies' hopes of avoiding the sweep out of the question, as both DeLauder and Joe Adell had multiple RBI hits. And Foster Griffin won his 15th game of the season after tossing 5 innings, a 2-run ball, and Cleveland's bullpen shut the door. Aram, my goal of Rockies 65-plus wins at plus 950 on BetMGM might be dead.
We talked about it last time, it wasn't because I don't like the Rockies. I like what they've got going on, but we looked at the schedule and it just felt like it was going to get tough. it was going to get really tough. You never know. They can rattle off, some wins at home, but the schedule was just so tough for them.
The good thing is that was just a sprinkle. Like the main win total bet was 52.5. That was my largest single MLB future, and they're still 3 wins away from that. I think
that one's coming.
Yeah. But speaking about the Guardians, like they needed these wins.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely needed them. They now own the 3rd spot in the wild card. They've won 4 in a row. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. It's just like, do they make it? How do I evaluate these teams? I don't think the Guardians are very good, but I don't think any of these teams are very good. And I keep saying the same thing, so I don't want to be like, oh, after a sweep of the Rockies, I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
I haven't. I still don't think any of these teams are that good, but the Guardians might be the best of the bad teams. While saying that, knowing how baseball works, and the Guardians are going to be the team to represent the American League in the World Series. Like, I get how baseball works. Is that the opposite of what I think is going to happen? But I can only tell you what I think, and I don't think the Guardians are that good.
I agree. I was more bullish on them. Like, I've definitely been a little bit more frustrated over the last few weeks, but like, I think you can see like what can be when they're healthy, and like I think Joe Adell has been a nice addition for them. DeLauder back and healthy, like. Huge. 2 triples in this game. I know it's scores, but like he can really help set the tone. Like to bring that righty power that Adele brings is great. Nathaniel Lowe was a sneaky addition. The funniest part about that though is they have one of the best, if not the best performers in the minor leagues right now in Rafi Velasquez, who's homered in AAA right now. 16 times in his last 20 games, he's homered in AAA. And I don't know if they're going to bring him up because he's not Rule 5 eligible until next year. And so like, I don't know if they want to put him on the 40 before. And I thought the Nathaniel Lowe trade, like a first baseman, kind of made me feel that way. But I think Ralphie's giving them no choice. Like you have a really good chance to make the playoffs here. You have good pitching that can put you in a spot to be able to win any series when your guys are dialed. And you made buyer moves. Like you made some pretty significant trades, especially for the Guardian standards. I think you got to bring up Ralphie at some point and really jolt this offense to another level. They've been having him play a little bit of outfield. He's a first baseman. He could suck out there. I don't think it really matters. They need bats, and this could be another young, high-ceiling bat to add to the fold. That would make things a little bit more interesting, too, offensively.
And what else would make it interesting is if Jose Ramirez can start playing like Jose Ramirez again. Because, if you were to add Ralphie Velasquez and he can hit some home runs, maybe he has like a Jokensi Noel type run. Remember when they called him up and he hit a bunch of home runs early and kind of gave them a jolt? You're hoping Ralphie Velasquez ends up having a much better career, but that same type of energy where you get that big slugger who can hit a bunch of home runs in a very short amount of time. But I think that's what's holding me back on the Guardians, is that when I turn on the game and I'm like, all right, who's going to beat me today? Or who's going to beat us today if I'm on the other team or whatever? Is it Jose Ramirez? And it's not. So it's like DeLauder has had some nice hits. Joe Adell has had a couple of home runs. Stephen Kwan is playing well. But when Jose Ramirez is struggling, it just feels like I'm struggling to watch the Guardians. But if he gets back to the 900 OPS hitter that he is, knowing they have a solid starting rotation, knowing they have a really solid bullpen, that's when I can start to get intrigued again. But I think that's why my feelings are negative, is I just don't believe in the offense. But if Ralphie Velasquez can come up and hit the ground running, and if Jose Ramirez can get back to it, we can have a different conversation about the Guardians. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is really all about J-Ram. And he's obviously just been hurt all year and like banging, and it's clearly affecting him. And they're trying to squeeze in the off days more frequently. You never know what can happen with him though, right? Like he could just go nuts the final couple weeks. Clean slate in the playoffs, could just kick into another gear. This is a guy that, is playing right now as just kind of an average regular, and we're used to him being, a top 5 player in the sport. So if they can get that version, absolutely catapults, because we've seen him catapult this team with a worse supporting cast. I really think we've seen peak J-Ram take this team, into the playoffs and make some noise in the playoffs with worse lineups around him. And I don't think nearly the starting pitching that they have right now.
What you said earlier about the Guardians is still true. This is the best supporting cast that J-Ram has had in a while. The problem is J-Ram is not taking advantage of the supporting cast, so they're not catapulting to where they should be.
Yeah.
But if he does, you can start talking me into the Guardians. It's very easy to talk me into the Guardians. I just need to see it. You know what I mean?
Call up Ralphie too, and I'm all in.
I could be all in too. All right, let's go over to Giants versus Red Sox. Game 1, Red Sox win 6-4. A 5-run third inning from the Red Sox put them in the driver's seat as Contreras hit a 900-foot 3-run homer. Did you see that?
Yeah,
that monster.
His power's crazy.
Crazy. He's been the second best hitter in baseball by WRC plus this year, I think. Unless I was reading the wrong stat. Fact check me on that. Podcast B. Does he have the second best WRC plus? Or was I seeing things? But I'll continue through game 1. Again, that 900-foot home run, and then a bases loaded walk and a hit by pitch brought home the next 2. Drew Gilbert hit a home run, and so did Rafael Devers in his return to Fenway, met with a ton of boos, which I thought
I get it.
I don't. No. You just forget everything else.
Nah, I agree. I mean, I would never
because
boo.
they brought in his replacement, and he was like, "That sucks. I don't want to do that."
that is
forget
true.
Everything that he did, and you boo him relentlessly. I don't get it at all. I get it. It didn't end perfectly, but come on.
my thing is like, yeah, he's done so much for them previously that he should just get an ovation. I just think, knowing the fans, knowing who like we're talking about Boston and the way things kind of went, which I don't think was totally his fault, obviously, either, but the fact that it was like kind of this bad communication situation from both sides. And what is unfortunate for Rafi, and I think some of it was clearly his fault, and like there was moments that he was frustrating, was like the team also didn't make it any easier on him. Like we were talking about how Ketel Marte has been so protected. I felt like Devers definitely got hung out to dry and a lot of that too. So I get all aspects of it, but I kind of feel like the cheer, semi-boo, was a perfect microcosm of it all for me.
I guess I didn't hear that many cheers.
Oh,
so
yeah.
maybe
it was like boos and then cheers. And then so it was the people booing were ready. And then everybody else cheered.
And at the end of the day, like, they're fans. You buy tickets. I firmly believe if you're a fan and you pay for parking, and you buy these ticket prices that are just out of control, and you buy beers and you buy food, and you're spending so much money on these games, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can boo whoever you want for all I care. All I'm saying is just hearing it, I winced. And I was like, damn, you're just throwing all that away. But at the end of the day, you do that, whatever the hell you want. Sonny Gray, at the same time, won his 16th game, which is tying Christopher Sanchez for the most in baseball. I think that's pretty cool. I still care about wins. I know they're not predictive, and I know they're not good to analyze a player. I still think it's cool to track wins. Sorry, sue me. Game 2, Red Sox win 3-2. Willie Adames and Andrew Kinzer homered early, and Blake Tidwell tossed 5 2/3 of shutout baseball with 7 strikeouts. Armies look pretty good. I know the Giants are terrible this year, but it's kind of interesting. But the Red Sox came roaring back in the 9th. Eli White started it with an RBI single. Nick Sogard followed it with an RBI double. And then Willie Abreu grounded one to first. But the throw from Eldridge took the catcher off the bag. And the Red Sox win. Game 3, Red Sox win 5-4 and take the sweep. Giants got out to a 3-0 lead in the first 2 innings, highlighted by a Jonah Cox home run. But the Red Sox came storming back once again. Sogard homered. Rafaela had multiple RBI hits. And Jake Bennett settled down to toss 7 innings of the 3-run ball with 6 punchies. His ERA is now at 3.49. And you look at the standings, 71-59. 7 of their last 10 have been winners. Obviously, that's sweep. And the Red Sox have the 3rd best record in the American League. The only problem is the Yankees and the Rays have the 2nd and 1st best record. So they're in 3rd place. So they're likely not going to win the division. But this is as clear of a playoff team as we really have, which is not something we could say a month and a half ago.
It's still, I mean, again, we talked about it. Like the worst part is that we're probably going to get another, Red Sox documentary. But this one actually I'll watch. This is if they make a playoff run. This is unique compared to like the 4th iteration of coming back from 3-0. But like this is one of the again the book is still being written here. But if the Red Sox make a run in the playoffs, even if they don't, this has been one of the most incredible turnarounds ever. But if they fully, make a run and get to the World Series, it really is like one of the coolest stories really ever, because of just how bad it was on all fronts, on the field, optically, like every which way you look at it. But again, like the Giants are a bad team. they beat a bad team and they swept them and beat them up. But all the games were close. And I think that almost made it a little bit more impressive. Like if they just offensive onslaught the Giants and it just was like a matter of just beating up on bad arms, like, you know, it'd be one thing. But Giants played well for their standards, hung around there, battled. And it's just the Red Sox are just a really darn good team. And I'm going to go to a couple of different games and try to talk to some people in the clubhouse this week when they're here in Miami. Because I want to see what the vibes are like over there. Obviously, it's been good. They're going to get Roman back in the next few days. They could get Story back. They're going to get IKF back in the next few days. I don't even know where they fit all these guys because you've got guys like Andrew Monasterio swinging the bat, and obviously Durbin's been unbelievable. So it's going to be interesting to see. You know, obviously Roman slots right in, but some of the other guys kind of, you know, like, what do you do with an IKF? Obviously he's on the bench, but like, does he just kind of wait until Monasterio comes back down to earth? I don't know, but the fact that they have options is great.
Wilson Contreras is the second best hitter in baseball. Podcast Pete fact checked me. 158 WRC plus. That is better than Pete Crow Armstrong. Like, this Red Sox team can really hit, like you said. They're getting Roman Anthony back, potentially Trevor Story back. But the reason I was giggling when you were talking, Arm, is that you said the Giants, for their standards, you know, put up a fight here, and like we're talking about them getting swept. So bad of a season it has been. And I don't agree with this Twitter post, but I did see it and I thought it was funny. It was like the one team that said, get all the analytical nerds out of the front office and let's be led by dudes who play ball, is running a $200 million payroll, and they're one of the worst teams in baseball. So the nerds might have a leg up on the jocks. You know, in high school, jocks rule. After it seems like nerds rule.
Yeah. I think this one, I mean, for sure. It seems like the Giants, like, again, they've got a lot of, you know, injuries, and it's going to be kind of just an audition situation for some of the young players. But, you know, Tugboat, early returns stuff may not be playing in the show. We'll see. I hope he can find a way to make it work. But I'm glad they're giving all these guys some opportunity. And, like, you know, Jonah Cox has been an awesome story, and he had a nice series. Like, is a guy that was really like an afterthought kind of org guy. So you get some of those positive stories, and, you know, I think the Giants will find some other pieces here in the process. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a sprint through the finish line for them either.
Me neither. All right, let's go over to the Pirates and the Dodgers. Game one, Dodgers win 5-4 in 10 innings. Hot start. Nick Gonzalez singled home the game's first run. Then Max Muncy answered and then some with a 2-run homer. Gonzalez would do it again to tie it up. Then Mookie brought home 2 in the bottom half of the third with a single. O'Neill Cruz homered in the 8th to tie it up, and we head to extras. In the 10th, Tommy Edman walked it off with an RBI single. Moved to game 2. Dodgers win 4-3. Pirates put up 3 in the first off Skubal, highlighted by a 2-run triple from O'Neill Cruz. But from there, Skubal would finish with 11 Ks, and the Dodgers would mount a comeback that started in the 4th via RBI singles from Teoscar and Alek Thomas. And then Kyle Tucker brought home 2 in the 5th on a single, which ended up being the winning runs. And I know Podcast P also has a note on Tarek Skubal, but as you can see here live, you know, a lot of swings and misses there. So Tarek Skubal, most pitches in a single start. And for all those watching on YouTube, highlighted are his last 2 outings. 106 back on August 22nd, or excuse me, that was yesterday. And then 109 pitches. So the Dodgers are starting to up that pitch count. And it is also notable that Tarek Skubal is not a guy who tends to go late into starts. He rarely goes, you know, beyond 6 innings. Maybe Dodgers are trying to get more out of him. I mean, they paid a lot for a rental. They're like, yep, we're going to get as many innings and pitches as possible out of our guy, Tarek Skubal.
Yeah, I mean, they are. It's a good sign that he's obviously feeling good too. Like, I imagine they're not doing that if he's not saying, hey, I want to go deep into these games. Like, especially with the bullpen, you know, just some of the back end guys being, you know, Edwin Diaz on the shelf and whatever it may be. They're trying to get a little bit more length out of him. But I think also Skubal going into free agency wanted to show people like, hey, I can go 110 pitches. I can go deep into these games. But injury is so far in the rear view. We don't care. And also, like, he probably feels pretty good. Again, it was with how minor the procedure was, the time off, like, he might feel fresh body wise. And I mean, he looks like it, obviously. I think it's going to be a sprint through the finish line for him. And yeah, I think it's clearly like, it looks like he's setting out to prove one more little thing before getting out to free agency, where he's going to ask for a big number.
Speaking about dominant lefties, Blake Snell has been fantastic since he returned from the IL. Moved to game 3, Sunday's game. Dodgers blank him 4-0. Snell just continues his utter dominance in second halves of the season. 6 shutty, 2 hits allowed. ERA's at 2.57, excuse me. Alec Thomas and Hunter Fiducia had RBI hits, and Dodgers cruise to a sweep. Blake Snell, 3 starts since returning from the IL, 6 innings, 1 run, 10 punchies, 6 innings, 1 run, 5 punchies, 6 innings, no runs, 6 punchies. Blake Snell is back, which is gigantic for the Dodgers, and Tyler Glasnow is set to return soon. We're going to start to get what we typically get at the end of every Dodgers regular season. The rotation starts to form. They start to get pushed out a little bit more. Ohtani's throwing bullpens. He's going to return. And we get the full scope of what is the Dodgers race for their 3rd World Series, the first three-peat since the late 90s Yankees.
Yeah, I think the Snell Skubal combination now, obviously adding Skubal and then just getting Snell back behind Yamamoto, like it feels like the most quiet 2.6 ERA ever.
So
like
good.
He's been unbelievable, and you're never seeing. I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like he's not getting the same level of fanfare maybe that some of the other arms that you would see putting these kind of numbers up. And I get it's probably a little bit of Dodgers fatigue. I think it's also just getting so used to him being one of the most consistent arms we've got in the sport.
Yeah, I think whenever a player's doing really well in the Dodgers, like we even talk about it in our Discord, like Showtime LA, who, is always awesome in our Discord. He was like, Edgardo Enriquez has been really underrated in the Dodgers bullpen. And it's like, I agree. I think Max Muncy has been underrated. I think Will Smith over his time as Dodgers catcher, I know he's been banged up all year, so that point right now is null and void, but generally he's been underrated. It's because people don't want to hear us talk about the Dodgers. Like, they get it. These guys are all great, but at the same time, these guys need to be celebrated, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto is a perfect example of that as truly one of the best pitchers in the world. And I think it's especially important to talk about him because when he signed with the Dodgers, I mean, people just forget that most people hated it. They're like, how could you give a guy this much money? Clearly, the Dodgers knew what they were doing. And now everyone is just like, oh, yeah, well, whatever. He's good again. It's like, points again to the Dodgers' ability to do that. However, their owner right now is in a bit of a pickle. But we can talk about that when we get more information. But I think, you, Jack, and I kind of talked about it offline. We were like, those situations, the law, tax stuff, that's just not our forte. Like, we're not avoiding it on purpose. We're not really the best at breaking it down. We need to bring someone else to kind of explain it to us.
In my expert opinion, it doesn't look good.
Yes.
I've got that much.
It's not, it's just, I saw some comments. It was like, are you guys avoiding it? I promise we aren't. We don't know much about it. We talk about stuff that we know, and we don't know.
I'm avoiding sounding like an idiot. I will say again, definitely doesn't look or sound good.
Yes.
The only other thing I'll touch on here is like, this might kind of be, again, another team we talk about kind of in the same conversation of it, like slipping away, heading into, you start to fall off, and then there's only a few teams left standing in the wild card. I feel like this is another team in the Pirates that's kind of just falling off and drifting away here a little bit, unfortunately. I know that it's tough. You're playing the Dodgers in LA, but and it was a couple close games. So we'll see if they can play their way back into it. It's more so the fact if the Pirates are in the AL, I'd say, hey, they're still alive. But with how good these other National League teams are playing, it's just going to be really hard for this, Pirates team to get back into it. And this was also another reminder from the Dodgers. Like, this is kind of like a playoff series sample where you get Yoshi, you get Snell, you get Skubal, and it's like, man, you could play some pretty good baseball. And I thought the Pirates have actually played pretty well. And you're just not. You're going to really struggle to come out with a win.
That's what I was about to say about the Pirates, because the fact that they even kept it close, I was impressed. You got Skubal, Snell, and Yoshi at home. What are you supposed to do?
Hang in there, and they did.
And they did. So again, that's like almost sometimes better than when they take 2 out of 3 from another team.
Unfortunately, just wins are at such a premium now where it's like, that'd be a good like moral victory. Hey, like we hung in there in May, but now it's like you just fell really far behind now.
Yeah. All right, let's go over to the Cubs versus the Mariners. Game 1, Mariners win 6-5 in 10 innings. The Cubs put up 3 in the first on homers from PCA and Bregman, but the Mariners would answer in the second with 4 of their own, highlighted by a 3-run home run from Cal Raleigh. We don't talk about that much on the Roundup. Home runs from Cal Raleigh, but we love to see him. In the 5th, Randy ripped an RBI single. Then in the 8th, Ian Happ homered to narrow the score to 5-4. And then Bregman tied it up with his second homer of the game. He has just been red hot. We detailed it with Hembo, and he's just continued to be awesome. But in the 10th, Leo Rivas brought home the winning run on a single. Game 2, another good one. Mariners win 5-4. Randy led the game off with a homer to start Cade Anderson's debut, and Cade Anderson finished with 5 2/3 of 3-run ball with 5 Ks, but it started with 4 scoreless innings before Kevin Alcantara brought home the tying run on a sac fly. Homers from Michael Busch and Alex Bregman halted Cade Anderson's good day and gave the Cubs the lead. But in the bottom of the 9th, Leo Rivas came up clutch again, single to bring home a run to get the Cubs lead to 4-3. And then Randy walked it off with a 2-run homer. Big game Randy has been awesome. Podcast P also said that he has some notes on Cade Anderson, one about his mechanics and another one about his fastball. Podcast P, if you want to start with the interesting mound position, righties versus lefties lefties, he's all the way on one side of the rubber, and then on righties, he's all the way on the other side of the rubber. Why do you think he's doing this, Aram?
He's got a really, unique arsenal in terms of it's 4 different pitches that he can go to, and he works all 4 quadrants. But I would love to hear from him, because I think at the end of the day, certain guys kind of like to vary that, but it's not all that common, because from a command perspective, it can throw you off a little bit. But the most amazing part with Cade is like his command is superb and always has been. Through the minor leagues this year especially, he's been one of the best, strikeout to walk guys in the entire sport. So to have the comfort with that, I think is impressive. But I think it's just being able to kind of work east-west. I think it allows him to maximize his stuff against both lefties and righties, because again, he'll go to 4 different offerings. I think what was fascinating with this outing too is this was Cade Anderson's first opportunity in a game setting, really, maybe other than like spring training or something, but in a regular season game setting, throwing with the big league ball because he skipped AAA. So Lance Brzezowski put out, I think, really good info and data for comparison here, where he lost 3.5 inches of induced vertical break on the fastball. And you're always going to lose a little bit of IVB when you go from the minor league ball to the big league ball. But you're just not really having the opportunity to get comfortable with the seams being tighter, the ball being a little bit more slick and staying behind it. There's probably going to be just some little blips for Cade. I thought he was great though overall. He just a stack of righties kind of second or third time through, and they got to him a little bit more. But for a guy that was throwing with the big league ball for the first time and kind of navigating with his stuff not playing totally the same way, I thought it was still a really encouraging outing. And again, a reminder why they brought him up, even though, again, I know they skipped AAA with all of their arms. The Mariners like to do that. But it's just high stakes late in the year. Not a lot of time to get your feet under you, if you're Cade Anderson.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And then we'll move over to game 3. Cubs just boat raced them 19-2. The Mariners actually had a lead in this one, if you can believe it, as Randy led the game off with a homer again, his 20th of the season, and an error by Carson Kelly gave Seattle a 2-0 lead. Then Conforto and Happ homered. Haps being a grand slam, the Cubs just blew it wide open in the 8th inning with 9 runs. PCA homered. Pedro Ramirez had a grand slam, and I know Podcast P has a funny Randy Rosarina stat. This comes to us from MLB Stats on X. Randy Rosarina joins Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonds, and Bobby Abreu and Willie Mays as the only players with 6 straight 2020 seasons. Randy's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. That's going to be a fascinating breakdown in terms of what contract he deserves, because the defense ain't great. But 2020, 6 straight times. It's incredible. It's incredible consistency.
Especially doing it, 2 straight years and 2.5 years in Seattle, where it's just, it's not always the easiest place, right? It's really interesting because he's on the other side of 30, right? He's gonna be 32 years old. The the defense is obviously not a huge asset, though he made a sick, home run robbery. He'll make the big time plays, right? But it's one of those where you could see that contract aging poorly if it's like 5+ years, and I don't think he's going to get that. But like to hand Randy a 3-year deal at a pretty high AAV, I think I would do that pretty comfortably, especially in a class where it's trash. Like this free agent class is trash. Randy's going to be one of the best options that you can probably bring in. And again, he's coming on off of a year where, and I know this happens in career years, so it's, in contract years, so it's a little scary, but this is arguably the best year of his career.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Anything really on this series? I mean, the Mariners are kind of battling.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see Kate Anderson. We kind of already broke that down.
It was a good series for the Mariners, period.
Yeah,
like you leave with a sour taste in your mouth because it was 19-2, but like it's no different if you lost 3-2 at the end of the day. You won the series. And I think that against a really good Cubs team, you have your top prospect debut. You have, you take 2 out of 3 and you battle and Cal homers. And I think there was a lot of positives to be had from the series, and you just hope that the Mariners can keep building on it.
And the Mariners, like, it's got to be noted. I know we kind of already talked about this last week when we were going through the strength of schedule, but the combined winning percentage of the remaining opponents is .448.
Yeah.
They only face 2 teams that are above 500 right now.
This was one of the toughest right here.
Exactly. And they won it. They have 6 games, 3 against Phillies, 3 against Boston. Then it's 7 against the A's, 7 against the Angels. They're going to face the Rangers and the Astros. They face the Rockies for 3. They could win the division. Like they could. They're 62 and 68 or whatever, but it's right there in front of them. And it's just been a disaster of a season. But I will say to Mariners fans, if they're listening, I wouldn't give up. This is the time where you can establish yourself. And it's not like the teams in front of you are any good either. Who knows?
Who knows?
So
that's crazy.
That's it for there. And I got one more series left. And they're currently playing on Sunday Night Baseball. We'll get to that in a second. But game 1, Brewers win 2-1. Miz versus Sale was worth the price of admission. Aram on BetMGM. It was a 5.5 total.
We were joking that it was going to be 6 on the weekend preview. 5.5 is crazy.
Crazy. And it went under by 2 runs, 2-1. Miz went 6 shutty with 6 strikeouts to lower his ERA to 1.66. And Sale allowed just 2 runs and 6, which actually raised his ERA to 2.20. That's how good Chris Sale has been this year. Brewers got their 2 runs early, and Michael Harris supplied the only Braves run in the 8th on an RBI single. Move to game 2. Brewers win 4-1. Logan Henderson is just so freaking awesome. 6 innings, a 1-run ball. His ERA is all the way down to 2.60. The 1 run he allowed came in the first off a Michael Harris RBI double, his 30th double of the season. And Milwaukee got control in the 3rd on a Wilson Contreras RBI single. And then Jake Bauers ripped his 23rd homer of the year. I think you mentioned in an episode, Jake Bauers, most like underrated hitter in baseball, one of the best stories of the year, and I couldn't agree more. And from Uncle Ted, Miz and Henderson is a filthy duo. Couldn't agree more. And I know Podcast P has a stat about the Brewers' young pitching staff that he's going to throw up here. Most pitchers 25 years or younger on a team with 10+ starts and at least a 1.40 ERA plus since 1900. Again, remember, ERA plus is a stat that is park adjusted, similarly to WRC plus, where 100 is league average. So 40% above league average. Again, since 1900. Kyle Harrison, Logan Henderson, and Jacob Mizorowski. Most pitchers since 1900. Remember when the Brewers just trade all of their young pitchers and then they just replenish them? Yeah, they did it again. They did it again, Arm.
They did it again. And like Kyle Harrison, just like, I think that's the big one when you look about the acquisition. As a guy that it bounced to 2 different places at that point, and you kind of wondered. And Priester was kind of the same story too, right? Where it's like, okay, how is he going to do this? Like, what is the 3rd team going to find with him? And sure enough, the Brewers, absolutely do it. He had 1 dud against just the absolute wagon that is the Padres since coming back, but 2 of the 3 outings have been really good for Kyle Harrison. So I've seen enough to say, okay, he's healthy, like he's good. It's not going to linger too much. And if you have those 3 in the playoffs, I can understand maybe being a little bit more measured, at the deadline if you knew you were getting a healthy Kyle Harrison back. And then you throw Dustin May into the equation as well. Like that's like depth now. But I really like that starting 3 in the playoffs, man. Like they can go toe to toe with just about anybody.
There's no doubt about it. What are your thoughts right now on the Braves? Because, they're winning right now on Sunday Night Baseball. Hopefully they, close it out and, they're able to salvage the series. But going into that game, they've only won 3 of their last 10 games. And they've been struggling, I would say, offensively. Ronald Acuna Jr. has not been playing well. Drake Baldwin has not been playing well. You're still getting Matt Olson, who's awesome. Michael Harris has been solid. Austin Riley's been okay. But at the end of the day, they're kind of limping right now as the Phillies really take control. And the Phillies, are gaining ground. Just one of your 2 cents on the Braves.
They're such a hard team to read for me. And it's funny because we gave them a lot of crap for not doing a ton at the deadline. And as we're recording this, Tyler Mahle's giving them another good outing. I mean, he's did 5 innings, 6 hits, 1 run. Once again, he's been great since just switching uniforms. But I think Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be just fine, right? I think he's going to end up picking it up and swinging it. Obviously, Matt Olson's been incredibly consistent for so long that I feel like you know what you're getting with him. The shortstop situation is a fascinating one. We've got Dubon kind of back into the fold there. Part of me feels like this is a really good regular season team, and I am nervous that they could just kind of skid into the postseason. But on the other side of it is you've seen a lot of these guys have so much success in the postseason before, and they're a very difficult team for me to read. Where I wouldn't be shocked if they, held on, won the division, and made a run in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of faltered, limped, still held on to the division, and then got bounced in the first round of the playoffs. I don't really know how to read them, but what I do know is they are probably starting to look over their shoulder a little bit now. They have to feel the Phillies coming. They have to.
And at the same time, too, right, the Phillies are hot right now. The Braves are not. We're talking about them. That's what we do on the show, of course. But we know how baseball works. It's cyclical. The Braves are going to get hot and the Phillies are going to get cold. And that's why, I look at my win total projections and I still have the Braves winning the division 60% of the time. Now it's closing. I even show a little bit of value on the Phillies at 2-1 on BetMGM. But I still think the Braves are going to win this division. But I think you make a good point about the playoffs. Because when you look at the Phillies and the Braves, in terms of just playoffs, where you got the 3-headed monster and you got a couple of guys who can leave the park, I prefer the Phillies roster in October. So that's where it gets more complicated. It's the Braves can be a better regular season team, but what is it going to look like if Spencer Schwellenbach isn't Schwellenbach in the number 2 spot, and you have Grant Holmes, who, to Grant Holmes' credit, has put together a really strong season. But then is it Martin Perez throwing game 3? Is it Smith Shawver? Who is going game 2 or 3 for the Braves? I think that's maybe it's Tyler Mahle, right? But I don't know. Just makes them a little bit less scary when they don't have those guys at the top.
Well, and Drake Baldwin, kind of cool off again. Is after he got hot, it was bad from returning from injury, then got hot, and oh, he's going to sprint, he's going to keep it going, and then kind of slowed down again. So that is tough offensively. And then I think it's Acuna is the big one that you gotta just kind of wait and see. I mean, over his last 20 games, so since the start of August, he's got a 77 WRC plus. He's hitting 207. He's always one of those players that's tough though, because then he just snaps out of it and he's great. But we've seen him have sometimes these rough stretches, especially on the heels of an injury. So that's another one where it's such a big variable that I just don't necessarily know what that means. But I do trust this Braves staff to hold it down regular season wise. And I think we're seeing that. And the bullpen's so good. And if they could get Robert Suarez back, I mean, obviously that was a huge blow to lose him, but all the different relief arms that they've had, like Dylan Lee's incredible. Didier Fuentes has been fantastic for them. It is interesting.
My last thing on this series, I just wanted to go real quick to the Brewers, and something that's always just amazed me about Milwaukee is how deep they are and how they don't need a star to lead them, because they're playing good baseball, right? They might sweep the Braves. They have the best record in baseball. Would anyone have any idea that Bryce Terang has a 48 WRC plus this month and he's playing poorly? No, no one even knows, right? And that's because Jackson Chourio is stepping back up again. Jake Bauers has been awesome. Andrew Vaughn has been great. They're getting contributions from a bunch of different hitters. The rotation has been great. The bullpen has always been awesome. They can afford arguably their best player having a terrible month because they just backfill everything else. And that's what makes the Brewers so great is inevitably your stars are going to have bad stretches. There's a lot of teams when their stars are having bad stretches, they fall flat on their face. I mean, the Yankees with and without Aaron Judge, I get it. Aaron Judge is much more impactful than Bryce Terang, but there's so many examples of teams falling once their star struggles. Bryce Terang is having a terrible month and nobody's even noticed.
And on top of that, I know it hasn't been a good year for Yelich, period, but for the month,
no one's even cared.
Yelich is hitting a $167.
Doesn't matter.
36 WRC plus. And there's still a force because Chourio, as you mentioned, has been incredible. Bowers is a 168 since the start of the month. And then even all the a lot of the other guys are just doing a job. Aaron Mitchell's been a league average hitter and does all the other little things that he does. Luis Guara's come up in spots and played good defense. And it's such a well-rounded group. And then again, the staff, even if the offense as a whole sputters, you can just win games with the staff. And that's what they've done too.
And if you think this was a well-rounded podcast, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe button. And if you're listening on audio after the fact, best way to support the show is by leaving a 5-star review. That'll do it for this episode of the Weekend Roundup. We will see you again Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, live here on YouTube. Special shout out to Podcast P for brilliant producing once again. So many great stats from you, Peyton.
Yes.
Thanks a lot again for such great work. For Arm Layton, I'm Peter Apple. See you guys again on Tuesday. And with that, thank you, everybody.